Hello and welcome to this pit stop for Warhammer Underworlds Nightvault, a two-player miniatures combat game from Games Workshop, which is by itself a core set, but also integrates and is an expansion for the Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire base set and expansions which came out during 2017 and 2018, and all of the Warhammer Underworlds content is integratable with each other. In Nightvault, we are introduced to two new factions for the system. We have got Stormsire's Cursebreakers over here with 3 of them, and these 7 over here are the Briar Queen and her Thorns. Now, base play is exactly the same as in Shadespire, in that over 3 rounds, each player gets 4 activations each, and when you activate, you choose something to do. You can move a figure, you can attack with a figure if the enemy is within range, you can move and attack for a charge, but then that particular character will be out of use for the rest of this round, or you can handle the cards in your hand, which is vital to the game, and we'll be talking about those cards. You're attempting to achieve objectives, and whoever scored the most glory points via defeating the enemy's figures and also by scoring objectives is going to be the winner at the end of the game. So what do we get in this set? Well, we get these 3 Stormsire's Cursebreakers. We have Amiss and Rastus, and they both have double weapons, and one of them have got a charged version each, which will give them knockback or cleave off their weapons. And we also have Aravaron Stormsire, who is the leader here. Now, these guys have got normal attacks. All of them will flip over and become inspired if they cast a spell. But Avaron's the only one who starts with a spell, and magic is one of the new mechanisms within this system. In this case, Avaron has got an attack which is Fulmination, which is a focus spell. And when you're doing magic, you check to see the level of the wizard that's using it. Avaron's a level 2. So we'll get 2 of these wizard dice. And then when he's attempting to roll, he's trying to get these focus token results rather than these channeling results, but obviously other spells will use those channeling results as successes instead. And once you cast a spell, when you turn Avaron over, all his stats improve, but the other 2, Amiss and Rastus, then get access to a spell which is Empower and boost the attacks of their colleagues. Over on the other side, the Briar Queen is surrounded by Chain Rasps. Now, 4 of these are just basic Chain Rasps. Now, Chain Rasps do not have great stats, but they can move through. Blocked and occupied hexes allow them to move, in fact, all the way through, even occupied hexes of the enemy. Also, when they're rolling for defense, they don't do the shields as usual, but they actually do the dodge, so they're slightly easier to hit and probably easier to kill. What the key to these is that all of the figures on this side, they become inspired by starting their activation next to an enemy, and then they turn over and become slightly better. So it's all about swarming the enemy and surrounding them and getting to those objective points. The Ever Hanged over there is also another one of the Chain Rasp, but it's slightly more powerful. Varklav the Cruel, again a more powerful one, but Varklav has got a power to be able to push these Chain Rasps and move them all very quickly to get them into the areas you want on the board. And finally, the Briar Queen herself, and she has got this Briar Whip down here, which she can fling out for ranged attacks, and again becomes inspired by starting next to the enemy, and her stats will go up. So in terms of the objectives, now this game is very much based around, once you get to know it, you start deck building, and there are 2 different types of cards you're going to have in your hand. You have objective cards, which is how you're going to score glory points to eventually win the game, and for the Stormsire's Cursebreakers, they have lots of things linked to their use of magic and to their lightning powers. So Harness the Storm will score you a point just for casting a spell. Measured Strike, you'll get a glory point for doing exactly enough damage to an enemy to kill it and no more. And for Fighters 1, if all 3 of you manage to surround one figure and attack it, that's going to score you a glory point. Now, the power cards that you have, which can help you do that, you have things like Storm Strike, which is going to add damage to the next attack. You've got Lightning Assault, which will allow you to attack again if you've missed. You've got a Warding Blast, which is one of the ways that Amiss is going to be able to become inspired, because it's specifically for them. And it's attack that targets all adjacent enemies, possibly specifically going to be good against these guys who are trying to swarm you. Or Cry of Thunder. There you go. That's one of those channeling spells I was talking about, and that lets you hit enemies and other ones adjacent to that enemy. For the Briar Queen's faction over here, they're going to score points for things like Swarming Spirits. So that's for if you do that and move your Chain Rasps through enemy fighters. If you manage to do 2 of those in one phase, then obviously using Varklav's power might be one of those. That's going to score you a point. to take the city if you hold all objectives on the board, which might be difficult with the normal faction, but with these guys they can move so fast, possible. Or death sentence, if you manage to get 3 fighters adjacent to the same enemy, that's going to score your point as well. Again, that swarming theme. And the sort of powers they have, like a spectral touch, will make their next attack a cleave. A rending scream is going to be another spell you can do to cause damage. Creeping terror, that when you actually move through an opponent, it can cause them damage if they fail a roll. Drifting advance is going to allow you to do that movement of lots of rasps at once and take over the board. Or a statistic strike here from Varklav will do damage and wounds to any of your enemies. So that's an overview of the 2 factions that you get within Nightvault. As I said, it's a standalone and expansion to the Warhammer Underworlds system, and it is coming out from Games Workshop 22nd of September 2018. This has been a Game Pit Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For more in-depth coverage of games, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thanks.